Welcome to the Tinfoil Rabbit Hole, the show that goes deeper than just the page one search results. I am your host, the White Rabbit. This show comes to you from deep down within our tinfoil rabbit hole. It's from there where we'll discuss the strange, the odd, the mysterious, and the unexplained. We'll explore every subject with its accepted definition and understanding, and dive deep into the interweb in search of alternative possibilities. So I invite you to put on your tinfoil hat and stay with me a while inside my tinfoil rabbit hole. Episode 8. Do we live in a hologram? Hawking thought so. Nick Bostrom is a professor of philosophy at Oxford University and the director of the Future of Humanity Institute. And he has a theory that we may not actually be what we think we are. We may, in fact, be a holographic program generated by banks of supercomputers created by an alien species. This is a pretty fringe concept even for the White Rabbit. Imagine creating a group of sentient beings and then having them figure out on their own that you created them. A British, Canadian, and Italian study showed what researchers believe is the first observational evidence that our universe could be a vast and complex hologram. Theoretical physicists and astrophysicists investigating irregularities in the cosmic microwave background known as the afterglow of the Big Bang found that there is substantial evidence supporting a holographic explanation of the universe, as much as there is for the traditional explanation of these irregularities. When Elon Musk isn't outlining plans to use his massive rocket to leave a decaying planet Earth and colonize Mars, he sometimes talks about his belief that Earth isn't even real and we probably live in a computer simulation. Surprisingly, the last theory that Stephen Hawking worked on before his death was a theory that the universe may actually be a hologram. Hawking's last paper suggested that it was perhaps more likely that the universe could be considered a hologram. This means that the 3D reality of the universe ought to be considered an illusion, and that all information is actually projected from a 2D surface. This theory, as outlandish as it may seem to some people, is one of the only ways that the creation of the universe can be reconciled with both eternal inflation and Einstein's theory of general relativity. Hawking proposed a new idea at a press conference in Stockholm, explaining what happens to everything that falls inside black holes. His claim is that all information that falls into a black hole has to be stored somewhere, or it would violate the laws of quantum mechanics. In media, we find holographic technology in use in films, television shows, books, and games based on the concept of reality as a hologram, simulation, or both simultaneously. Examples of this can be found in The Matrix, The 13th Floor, Inception as dreams, and the holodecks shown as grids when not being used in the Star Trek TV series, among many others. But the White Rabbit tells you that we are fallible and limited to individual experiences, making reality difficult to define. In a holographic universe, there are no limits to the extent to which we can alter the fabric of reality. What we perceive as reality is only a canvas waiting for us to draw upon it any picture we want. Anything is possible. Wikipedia states a hologram is a physical recording of an interference pattern which uses diffraction to reproduce a three-dimensional light field, resulting in an image which retains the depth, parallax, and other properties of the original scene. In its pure form, holography requires the use of laser light for illuminating the subject and for viewing the finished hologram. A microscopic level of detail throughout the recorded scene can be reproduced. Reality as a hologram is no longer a fringe theory, with Nobel Prize winners and other prominent scientists and intellectual leaders believing in it. All scientific discoveries start out as theories, some ultimately proven, some not. There is still the question of whether our universe actually exists. We may be simply living in something's virtual reality simulation. It is very hard to prove one way or the other, but we are getting closer. The theory that reality, as we consciously experience it, is not real goes back to the indigenous people who believed that we exist in a dream or illusion. In our current timeline, we refer to our reality experience as a matrix, the grids, a simulation, or a hologram. There are those trying to prove our perceived reality exists, and others who are trying to break us out of it. If time is an illusion, as some believe, then everything else must be as well. The universe would be a conscious hologram or simulation as well. Our perceived reality as a projected illusion within it, a virtual experiment created in linear time to study emotions. If our hologram is composed of grids created by a source of consciousness, brought into awareness by electromagnetic energy at the physical level, then the hologram is created and linked through a web, grid, or matrix. The hologram had a beginning, therefore it has an end. As consciousness and as the grids collapse, everything within the hologram will end and fade to black. But now, you are in the White Rabbit's tinfoil holographic universe, caught in my reality, where we are going to manifest our holographic attention deep down inside my tinfoil rabbit hole. It's there where we will generate our thoughts on what is real and what isn't. So gather your tinfoil and prepare your photons to materialize inside of my matrix of questionable reality. The Holographic Universe Principle. The Holographic Universe Principle suggests that we're living in a simulated reality, but this is different from the hypothesis that states we live in a computer simulation. It asserts that our physical world is nothing more than a detailed illusion. This illusion is actually projected by our brains as energy fields and are being decoded into the seemingly three-dimensional universe we see around us. In a more speculative sense, the theory suggests that the entire universe can be seen as a two-dimensional information structure that is painted onto the cosmological horizon, so that the three dimensions, or four if you include time, that we observe are only an effective description at macroscopic scales and low energies. Your brain mathematically constructs subjective reality by interpreting frequencies that are ultimately from another dimension, a deeper order of existence that is beyond both space and time. The Holographic Universe Principle is considered a viable hypothesis, a way to resolve dissatisfaction with standard cosmological theories that can't explain diverse phenomena predicted by quantum mechanics. The conclusion that objective reality does not exist is based on a 1982 experiment conducted by a research team led by physicist Alan Aspect at the Institute of Theoretical and Applied Optics in Paris. Through this experiment, the researchers discovered that under certain conditions, subatomic particles like electrons are able to instantaneously communicate with one another, regardless of the distance separating them. Whether they were separated by just a few feet or billions of miles, the particles always seemed to know what the other was doing. We now call this quantum entanglement, and it's one of the more baffling aspects of particle physics because it directly contradicts Einstein's theory of special relativity, which says that nothing can travel faster than the speed of light, including information. These experiments demonstrated that the web of subatomic particles that compose our physical universe, what we call the fabric of reality, possesses what appears to be an undeniable holographic property. If true, the holographic principle would comprehensively include all of reality as we know it, as well as previously unexplained phenomena such as the paranormal, out-of-body experiences, telepathy, lucid dreaming, and near-death experiences. In the 1950s and 60s, inventor Dennis Gabor discovered that when you photograph objects with a split light beam and store the information as wave interference patterns, you get a better image than with ordinary point-to-point intensity photographs. Not only is the captured image clearer, but it is completely three-dimensional. The three-dimensionality of holographic images is not their only amazing attribute. In holograms, all parts are reflected in the whole, and the whole is reflected in all parts. So if you chop a piece of holographic film into tiny bits and then shine a laser onto any of them, no matter how small, you will still get a complete image. The three-dimensionality of such images is often eerily convincing. You could actually walk around a holographic projection and view it from different angles, just as you would a real object. However, if you reach out to try and touch it, your hand will go right through it, and you will discover that there is nothing there. The physical world around us behaves much like a hologram. Just like a piece of holographic film, all data exists as wave patterns. These interference waves have no solidity. They have no definite properties or location. The image is distributed throughout the entire film, just as data or quantum that are distributed throughout the entire universe. Then, when a laser beam, what we might call consciousness, is directed at those interference waves, seemingly solid three-dimensional images appear before our eyes. One of the first physicists to consider this cosmic hologram metaphor was David Bohm, who defined the universe as an undivided wholeness in flowing motion, which he termed the hollow movement. Consciousness. Is consciousness just a program, hologram, simulation, illusion, or dream created by digital codes? Is it a bunch of numbers and numeric codes that define our existence and experiences? Does human DNA, our genetic memory, remember by use of digital codes at specific times and frequencies? Do those codes awaken the mind and provide us with the sensations of change and the evolution of perceived consciousness? Consciousness is what we call everything in the virtual hologram of our experiences, perceived and interpreted by the brain, which is nothing more than an electrochemical machine forever viewing these streaming codes for experiences and interpretation. Many philosophers have seen consciousness as the most important thing in the universe. On the other hand, many scientists have seen the word as too nebulous in meaning to be useful. There is also debate on whether non-human consciousness exists, and if so, how could it be measured? When in life does consciousness begin, and whether computers can achieve conscious states? Are humans living in a holographic universe? In reality, or maybe a simulation? Is consciousness nothing more than the firing of neurons in the brain? Or is consciousness a distinct entity that permeates every speck of matter in the universe? The answer to the question, what is consciousness, could have implications for the future of artificial intelligence and far-out concepts like mind uploading and virtual immortality. The brain is merely an electrochemical machine, a computer that processes through binary zeros and ones, and then creates these patterns of experiences and realities. But is there more that we are missing? Is consciousness really just the result of chemical processes? Reality. Reality is never the same for everyone. Like the flow of the collective unconsciousness, it is forever in motion, creating new patterns of experiences. You see it all around you as the grids or the matrix. It's where and how we maintain our perception of having physical connections. Reality in everyday usage means everything that exists. The term reality, in its widest sense, includes everything that is, whether it is observable, accessible, or understandable by science, philosophy, theology, or any other system of analysis. Reality in this sense may include both being and nothingness. When two or more individuals agree upon the interpretation and experience of a particular event, a consensus about an event and its experience begins to be formed. This being common to a few individuals or a larger group then becomes the truth as seen and agreed upon by a certain set of people. Thus, one particular group may have a certain set of agreed truths, while another group might have a different set of truths that have reached consensus. This lets different communities and societies have varied and extremely different notions of reality and truth of the external world. Religions and beliefs of people or communities are examples of this level of reality. In philosophy, reality is contrasted with non-existence and mere possibility unless they are discovered. Penguins do exist, so they are real. But a mountain made of gold is merely possible and not real until it is actually discovered. A schizophrenic is said to have hallucinations and delusions which concern people and events that are not real. However, there is controversy over what is considered out of touch with reality and with what is in touch with reality. Philosophy addresses two different aspects of the topic of reality: the nature of reality itself and the relationship between the mind and reality, when in fact, many analytic philosophers today tend to avoid the term real and reality all together. The view that there is a reality independent of any beliefs or perceptions is called realism. Anti-realism is the latest in a long series of terms for views opposed to realism. Anti-realism is a term for any view which purports that the existence of anything depends upon the mind. Near-death experiences in the holographic universe. Several near-death experience researchers have pointed out that the holographic universe model offers a way of understanding these experiences as ventures into the more frequency-like aspects of reality. People who claim to have had near-death experiences describe them as entering a realm of higher vibrations or frequencies where everything is made of light and sound. The sounds are described as being celestial music or a combination of vibrations, and the lights are described as being more brilliant than any on Earth, but despite their intensity, do not hurt the eyes. Some researchers believe these and other observations provide evidence that the act of dying involves our consciousness and sense of reality being shifted away from the ordinary world of appearances and into the holographic universe reality. Another decidedly holographic feature of NDEs is the commonly repeated experience that in the afterlife realm, time and space as we know them cease to exist. People who have experienced NDEs have said that they have found themselves to be where all space and time were negated. Some people say their NDE had numerous other features that are markedly holographic. They claim to have detached from the physical body and find themselves in one of two forms, either as a disembodied cloud of energy or as a hologram-like body created by thought. When the latter is the case, the mind-created nature of the body is often surprisingly obvious to the NDEer. One near-death survivor says that when he first emerged from his body, he looked something like a jellyfish and fell lightly to the floor like a soap bubble. He then quickly expanded into a ghostly three-dimensional image of a naked man. People who have had near-death experiences, who were confined to wheelchairs in their physical existence, found themselves in healthy bodies that could run and dance. Amputees invariably have their limbs back. The elderly often inhabit youthful bodies, and even stranger, children frequently see themselves as adults, a fact that may reflect every child's fantasy to be a grown-up. Many NDEers themselves have used the term holographic to describe the experience. They claim it to be an incredibly vivid, wraparound, three-dimensional replay of their entire life. One NDEer said it's like climbing right inside a movie of your life. Every moment from every year of your life is played back in complete sensory detail. Total recall. And all it happens in an instant. Thus, the experience is holographic, both in its panoramic three-dimensionality and also in its incredible capacity for information storage. In fact, the commonly called life review is a striking resemblance to the afterlife judgment scenes described in the sacred text of many of the world's great religions, from the Egyptians to the Judeo-Christian, but with one crucial difference. NDEers universally report that they are never judged by beings of light, but feel only love and acceptance in their presence. The only judgment that ever takes place is self-judgment, and it arises solely out of the NDEer's own feelings of guilt and repentance. Sadly, our time in the tinfoil rabbit hole has come to an end. The White Rabbit hopes you enjoyed your time here and invites you to return and visit with him again in the tinfoil rabbit hole.
Where the hell is Tesla?